Good morning all. Thanks for joining the session. The current session we are going to discuss about the multi-stage builds. So, so we discuss what is the multi-stage builds. So when you use for the development, you use the .NET SDK build image to create the Docker image. And when you go to the production, you use the .NET runtime. Based on the .NET runtime Docker image, you will build the Docker image. Why we have to use SDK for the development or for the development stage or build stage, or why we need to use the production stage? I will switch to this to demonstrate. I will switch to this command prompt, and then I will show you a demo. I will pull a Docker SDK image, and also I will pull the Docker SDK runtime image and show you the size differences. So already exist. So Docker images, and you can see here the size of SDK is 741 MB and the size of runtime is 188 MB. So when I go to the production, always I prefer to use less size of the Docker image for the maintainability. Why the runtime is lesser size than SDK is? The SDK version contains the build features as well as the debug features. That's the reason we have to use this SDK version when we are using the build stage or the development stage. But when we move to the production, we have to use the runtime to reduce the size of the Docker image. So that's the reason we have required the multi-stage builds, meaning when you are doing the build, you have to use the SDK version. After build completed, you need to use the same copy to generate on top of runtime to reduce the size of the Docker image. So the multi-stage builds are new features been added for after the Docker 7.05 or higher. Before multi-stage builds was added, a script was required to copy the published output of your build container onto the disk. Then the runtime container would read in that output. This was very tedious because what you have to do is before multi-stage implemented, you need to generate the published output using SDK, and with this output you need to generate again, you need to use the manual steps to generate the Docker image. So this is very tedious process because uh, I have generated one package with SDK, then I need to remember where this package has been generated, and always I have to choose the right package to generate to move to the production. There is a chances all the time you can choose the wrong package and push to the production, which cause lot of issues. That's the reason the multi-stage build concept will help you to build the package in one stage, and using that stage package automatically the second stage will build the package using the runtime to move this package to the next level of environments like UAT and production environments. So that's I will demonstrate now. So I'm going to use same solution which we have used in the previous video about the creating a Docker image using the Docker file. So this stage I'm calling as a dev stage, or I can call it as a build stage. So why I'm calling it as build stages? I'm building the package, I'm building the code and generating the package. To, to speed up the process, I'm going to copy the next stage directly, which I'm using the runtime. From I'm using this ASP.NET. Earlier I used this ASP.NET SDK 7.0. I'm calling this as a production environment. So this package, this Docker image, I want to move to the production environment. Okay. So then work directory will be app and copy. So here you can see that hyphen from, I can call this as a build environment to the out folder into the current context. So the entry point is .NET Web Application 1.dll. So make sure these both are same, because the naming convention is case sensitive, so it should be we should use the same name. Then I will go to the docker build hyphen t web app v1 dot. So the build is started. It contains the 15 steps. I can show you one by one steps what it was happening. So image has generated, and image has generated, and you can go to the command prompt and see Docker images web app. The size of the image is 220 MB. Why? Because of we have built based on the .NET SDK. That's the reason the size is 220 MB. So now I will generate the build based on SDK version. So how I can generate? Here the feature is you can run any stage whatever you want. Suppose if I want to run only the build stage. So what I can do here is Docker build target build environment web application. I can treat this as v2 and go to the command prompt and see there is any images has generated. Docker images v1 and v2. See the difference? Where the image is generated on runtime, it was 220 MB. Where the image has generated with the stage of build, it was 813 MB. So that's the reason when we go to the production, we have to use the runtime uh, build runtime Docker image base image package. So that's all about the multi-stage builds Docker image.